Hey everyone, Yan Zhao. Tonight we have the incredibly talented Irene from at Reenie Draws.
Hello.
Her
Nice to be here.
people might know her from such things as Marvel's Silk, or even better yet, the current Indiegogo Fiendish.
Yeah. Don't
How you
mention the
doing?
old stuff. What I'm doing now is what's important.
Well, I'll give you a little bona fides. Um, so we were talking a little bit backstage, and you grew up in Taiwan.
Yes, I did.
So as you were growing up, like what were the big influences on you in terms of like I would assume it was more manga than American comics and then also Japanese anime. So what really influenced you to get into sort of this artistic lifestyle?
Well, I've always liked drawing.
Mm-hmm.
I've pretty much, you know how a lot of people, they'll ask you, if you're an artist, they ask you a question. I was like, when did you start drawing? I was like, I started when I was 3 and I never stopped. So it's a weird question. Uh, I think like my earliest influences, I've just been always very visually oriented. So
Mm-hmm.
literally like some really beautiful storybooks when I was little. Like
Mm.
remember there was one that was like historical, like a historical book of how children grew up from all around the world, and another one I love a Dinotopia, the Dinotopia books,
Oh, okay.
and other like picture books that had. But I always liked a really detailed one, so that had like cutouts of like boats and like historical buildings and stuff, and it was all illustrated. So that's I've always been like that stuff just like imprinted on my mind. I always really loved that stuff, and I started technically like the first comics I read were like Chinese version of Smurfs and Carmen
Mm-hmm.
Sandiego on the back of Time for Kids, but I didn't really like read comics until I started reading manga in like early middle school,
Uh-huh.
and that was just like picking up manga at like the dentist office because in Taiwan manga is everywhere. So when
Yeah.
you're at the dentist office, they have like kids manga just in the waiting room, and I think the first ones I picked up were it was Case Closed. It's Detective Conan in America. It's called Case
Oh, okay.
Closed, which
It's
hence
called
my
Case
fascination.
Closed?
Yeah, in America it's
Oh,
called Case. It's
I
kind of
didn't know
weird. I'm
that.
like, why don't you just call it Detective Conan? But it's because the name is a reference to Conan Doyle. So that was
Oh.
one, and also another one. Natsu no, it's Natsu's Wine. I don't know what the English name is, but it's this weird kind of slice of life comic that was in my mom's Buddhist organization because my mom would always go
Mm-hmm.
there and it was just sitting around in the front room, so I would sit there and read it. So that, and then once I got a little more freedom when I was like further on in middle school and I could like bike to school on my own, I started going to manga bookstores, and I would spend all my free time there instead of actually doing my homework or studying, which made my mom very happy, as you might imagine. And that's when like the full blown obsession kicked in because I was like, this is just my thing. Like I love this and I want to do this. So I realized I wanted to comics when I was 14 and never turned back. What
uh,
was the question? Did I answer the question?
Pretty much, yeah. So, just to sort of follow that up, so nowadays, do you ever go to your mom and be like, "See, mom, I was studying hard all those years after all."
I kind of rub it in, unless she like plays like she's like I don't know. She plays it off like, oh, I've always supported you. I was like, no, you didn't. But I try not to be mean about it because like she's old and stuff. I'm like, come on, you did. You were like a typical Taiwanese mom, like study hard, like
Uh,
really harsh and stuff. But you know, like I think that kind of parenting they mean well, but it's weird though because she's also an artist, but she kind of had trouble getting work because she was a
mm-hmm.
sculptor. So like
Oh,
after she couldn't get work, and after she had me, she decided to become a full just a homemaker. But she's a very good artist, and even now, like she's in her 60s, and she taught herself video editing programs, and she does video
wow.
editing for her Buddhist organization. I'm just like, mom, you could have gone back to school and learned this and done this for a living, but she kind of has a traditional mentality of, oh no, I'm past that age, so I can't go back to like the society
Yeah,
there is
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
weird. It's like you're only supposed to be doing one thing at like a certain age in life. So, but like she's a talented artist, and I think she thought I would have the same kind of trouble like supporting
Mm-hmm.
myself if I did art, but I mean, I kind of always planned to go international. I was willing to go wherever I had to and travel to make things work. So yeah,
Yeah.
I managed to somehow managed to make it work. I don't know how, but
Well, I think we live in different times
different
too. You
times,
know,
definitely. Yeah,
like
very different
practically
times.
there was almost no way your mom could have connected with an international audience back when she was, starting her career. Whereas now it's just, you know, you get a few goofballs together and you got a live stream and everybody
Yeah,
sees your stuff.
yeah. But even before that, like when I started college and like mid 2000s and like in middle school around
Mm-hmm.
like early 2000s, like that time the internet wasn't really around, but still kind of knowing that I don't know, like the way I thought of it was because when you're in like middle school, you don't really think about like, oh, how
Right.
am I going to make a living in the future? But it always occurred to me that I was reading all this manga and watching all these movies, and Miyazaki was always a inspiration to me. And it was like I was told by a lot of people, because my teachers at school didn't like me drawing either. Very few people liked me doing what I did. It was a great childhood. It's sort of, well, you're not special like all these artists that are making the manga you love and making the anime you love. And I was like, but who are you to say that? Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying I'm special, but I think if I work hard, I can try, and I don't want to do anything else. So, and they're making a living off of it, more importantly, so why can't I? And I was like, when I graduated high school, it was like either America or Japan, but it's like my English was much better than my Japanese, so I came to America because I got accepted into art school here. So it's like, well, here I am.
And I was wondering about that too. So you went to, I keep wanting to call it SVA. I know it's not School of Visual Arts.
It's SCAD.
Savannah,
Oh,
Savannah.
it's
Yeah,
SCAD,
that's it.
yeah. Yeah, but
Uh,
I went to the Atlanta. Well, I was in Savannah for a year, then I came to the Atlanta campus.
oh, okay. So, you know, coming from Taiwan, which was probably almost like 90%, in my opinion, like manga anime influence as opposed to more traditional American stuff. Coming
Oh,
over
it was
here,
all that. Okay, so when now it's more different
mhm.
because after the MCU, there's much more interest in American
Oh,
comics,
really?
and there people will do like fan translations of that stuff. But when I was growing up, there was
Mhm.
none. Like I
Yeah.
didn't even know Spider-Man was still an ongoing comic until I came to America. All we had was manga, and then we had like some manhwa and some like 火凤燎原 was
Mhm,
a
mhm.
Hong Kong comic that was really
Yeah.
really hot. Some stuff from Hong Kong, but all we had was manga. So that's what I grew up with.
So when you came here and all of a sudden you're sort of bombarded with all these more American style books, how did that change your art?
Mm,
Or
oh
did it?
no, I think it did. So, I think I ended up kind of having a merger between manga style and Western style art, and in the end, kind of like as I went through art school, I realized what really appealed to me wasn't even American style comics; it was European style comics. So I started latching onto like a lot. I didn't even so much read it as I just studied the art, which is weird to say because when I was in college, it was a little hard to get my hands on European comics.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
I just liked the art style, and most of what I got was like I could get Black Sad, we got Sky Doll, and just like download a lot of Mobius pages because those are all over the internet. But I was like, this is kind of I wanted to merge that style with manga. I stopped using manga iconography pretty early on, like the kind of chibi faces and like manga shorthand and like the
Yeah.
little like when people are angry. I wanted to go with the iconography. Like, I wanted to consciously use an iconography that could appeal to a wider audience instead of just people who read manga. But I didn't want to drop the way I drew, especially the way I drew faces, especially because I liked how I felt manga was more expressive, and
Yes.
that's just what I grew up reading. And I had a lot of trouble if I don't like drawing unexpressive faces. I had a lot of trouble if I forced myself to draw in a different way. But I think the influence from Western artists made me. I've always been very detail oriented though, so it's not that. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, 'cause
I think, yeah, it's how would you say it? I'm thinking just like the mark making. It's like hard to describe because there definitely is an influence, but I don't really know how to describe it. It's like the mark making and the ink work because a lot of American and European comics are more inky, but it's not a solid rule because like Vagabond is really inky and Berserk, but then
yeah.
Berserk takes a lot of inspiration from Western art as well.
Mhm.
So like Berserk and Vinland Saga, they're manga, but they're clearly trying to emulate Western art. So that's kind of I feel like that's kind of the same comfort zone I eventually settled into.
Well, that is there's been a lot of great back and forth. I would say between Western art, either like drawn art or film, where something will go over to Asia, and then people over there will pick it up and like mix it with their own stuff, and then have it'll end up coming back to the U.S. And then it keeps swapping back and forth. One of the things that I noticed when I was checking out Fiendish is there's no way anybody could look at this and say there's no manga influence, because it's very clearly there. But it's interesting to hear you say like you dropped all the shorthand, because that was one of the things I noticed right away. And and it definitely does have more of a, let's say, Western influence than just pure Japan, Taiwan, Korea.
Yeah, I
Type
think it
stuff.
depends on who's looking, because
Sure,
to
sure.
Taiwanese people, they see my art like, oh my god, you draw so Western. But
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
Americans, they see it and it's like, bam, this is manga. So, but I'm like, that's good, because that means I'm in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, so we have people in the chat. Beyond Time, hello, hi, and Sai is here. He's stopping by to show his bikini blackmailer some support. Thank you. I am your bikini blackmailer. That will be explained at a future date. Eric McIntyre, hello. Glad you guys can join us. Okay, just wanted to say hi to everyone.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you guys have questions, feel free to jump in.
Yes, interact, please. Oh, I just found out about this.
Mhm.
Like, you can click on. Did you know you can click on like comments to make them show up on screen? I didn't know that because I'm stupid. I didn't know
yes.
that till like last week. Yeah, I'm dumb. Okay. Just in case anyone asks a question. So, yay!
No worries, no worries.
Most people know that.
Hey, Rat.
Just not me.
The Rat. So, you've. I was wondering too. Of course, we'll focus more on the new stuff, but you did do some work for Marvel.
Yes, I did.
And I'm kind of wondering, like, back in the day, the way to become a professional artist was you sort of work your way up through the ranks, doing a lot of independence, and then you could get the cherry jobs. Or, well, no, then you start at the bottom rank of the big two, and then eventually you rise to the top and get to the cherry jobs. Do you think that there is do you think that system is either still in place, or it will be in place, or is it now sort of more of a proving ground where for new artists, like, it's good to get into the big two just to get your name out there a little bit, but then sort of the meaty jobs are working on your own projects these days?
Well, I don't know what it's like for other people, because I know a lot of people who got into the big two around the same time as me, and they're very happy working in the big two. It's all they ever want to do. They just want to draw
Sure.
Spider-Man all their life, and they're like, I'm stay here forever. But it's not me. So subjectively to me, working for the big two is very much, I'm going to use this as a way to get my name out there, and just kind of learn how the industry works. And I mean, if it's good, I'll stay. If it's not, I'll leave. But I always wanted to go independent and do my own thing. So I don't know if it's the same for everyone. I think for most people, a lot of artists kind of, yeah, I don't really know. I don't think, I will say, my impression is the big two aren't like the end all be all. Like, this is the highest and coolest place you can be anymore. because it's, and I don't really know why, but from my experience, unless you're either a built-in artist or you're one of the heavy hitters, and most of those people got in years and years ago. Unless you're one of those people, I see a lot of artists jumping between like big two work and indies, just taking whatever work they can get, because the indies are getting really big now, and sometimes indies can pay just as well as the big two. And I, from my experience, the passion is in the indies, and that's what's important to me, and that's why I'm here. I didn't like the working in mainstream comics. To me, it wasn't. I didn't feel like people loved what they did.
I think a lot of people would agree with that sentiment. So what lessons did you take from working for them?
I don't know. I don't really know what I mean, I got my work out there, got my name out there, and I appreciate that. But as far as lessons go, I think I just got experience like pumping out pages fast. I learned how to do layouts fast and, get things done when I was on a deadline. So that's a valuable lesson. But art-wise, I don't really think I improved working on them, because I was put on, I guess I could have just drawn in my style, but I was clearly put on books where they wanted me to draw in a different style that wasn't mine. So it was kind of a weird experience, and I was okay with it at first. I didn't say anything because I was like, oh, I'm new, I have to pay my dues. So they're gonna put me on books that just they need fill-ins, and I was always a fill-in artist. I wasn't anything else. But then it went on for like 4 years, and I was like, where's this going? Am I ever gonna get anywhere? And I felt like I ended up being typecast, and I wasn't gonna. The only way I could break out of it is if I just left and did my own thing. And I felt like I had the experience, and I had enough, like my writing and world building, and I was ready to do my own projects. So at that point, I felt like the Big Two hadn't given me what I gave it a chance to provide. So I was out.
So you are a tabletop role player. Is that where like all your desire? Well, maybe not all your desire, but is that where like the big sort of desire? Fine, I'll use that word to like start building your own world and start creating like your own mythologies. Is that where that came from?
Like tabletop?
Yeah, or did that start before and then you found the tabletop stuff and like yes?
It started before. So when I was in like 5th or 6th grade, I filled like I had this thing. I wrote this big old story, and it was just like long and rambling, and it wasn't really about anything. But I made up like this island. It was kind of like Dinotopia, but it didn't have dinosaurs or anything. It was just like an island of like kind of a lost human race, and like they were like a couple of, I don't quite remember what the hell it was about, but a couple of girls were escaping from it, and then like I just wrote like they were sisters, but I filled like 5 school notebooks with it. I've always been really into making up my own stories and fantasy, and when I was little, I wouldn't play with like the toys that I had. I would take like household objects and like pretend they were other things, and I would make my own toys. I would take soap and candles and carve little figures out of them, and those are my toys. So I've always been, I think that was why when I finally came into contact with tabletop games, I was like, this is just made for me, because I think I've always really liked world building.
So when did you get into tabletop gaming?
About 4 years ago.
Oh, okay. So
surprisingly late, but that's also because my life has no entertainment whatsoever. Like I grew up with no TV, no video games, and in college I was just working my ass off. So
so how did you get so A, how did you get dragged into it? And B, did you have any like preconceived notions like what nerds are doing this, or was it always something like, oh, that looks kind of cool?
I don't know what I thought about it at first. I kind of knew what it was about. It wasn't like what nerds are into this. I mean, I went to art school, so people were playing
Okay,
it.
yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
like nobody who was in my immediate group was playing it.
Hmm.
But what was weird? So my colorist Carlos,
Hmm.
and we also call him Nick, same person. Just he can't decide which name he wants to be called by. I knew him and his wife AC back in college. We all went to SCAD, but we weren't like hanging out all the time. But we were just friends, and we were both in sequential art. But after college, what happened was I moved to Taiwan, and then they moved back to Colombia, and we kind of were both in this kind of same situation. We were freelancing in foreign countries as expats, and we were so we started talking online a lot about our experiences. And then one day, Carlos was like, "I want to start GMing a Pathfinder game. Do you want to join?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, sure," because it was I was looking for more chances to socialize because I couldn't it's this weird thing where I didn't have a lot of I had friends in Taiwan, but not really any good friends, and I didn't really have any hobbies I could pursue there. So I've been talking to Nick and Carlos and AC a lot more. So I was like, cool, let me try it out, and then everything spiraled out of control afterwards. Yep.
Do you have like a dice habit or like a minis habit where like you're really spending more money than you should on these things?
No, and
Okay, all
the
right.
reason I know I'm in danger of that kind of habit, which is specifically why I have gotten into like Warhammer and specifically Warhammer, but a few other games, because I just know, like, looking at the figurines, I'm like, I would blow every single cent I made if I got into this, because I love that kind of stuff. I'm a sculptor too, and yeah, I don't really have I buy too many dice. I think I like pretty dice, so that is kind of a thing, but I don't so much. Nick slash Carlos paints a lot of minis, but I don't so much. I just sculpt my own characters. Yeah, too many dice.
Oh, that's good. Most groups that people play with, somebody needs an intervention at some point. So I was just kind of curious.
Yeah, I
So
know, I'm surprised we haven't gotten there yet. I don't know, or we all just we enable each other. Shane, hello.
So yeah, he says a new great way for creatives to socialize these days would be drink and draw events at pubs. Hell of a lot of fun.
I don't. I think that's nice for a lot of people. I don't really like doing that because I never get a lot of drawing done. I just like talk to people. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's not drink and draw. It's like drink and drink. But it's nice to go drinking with other creatives. That's nice.
Definitely.
I don't draw very well when I'm drunk, so I don't do that.
I don't know. I'm too self-conscious to draw in front of other people.
No.
Doesn't help me. But with the tabletop gaming, if you look at Fiendish, it kind of has that look like, this could be an RPG. So like, how much did starting to play change the way you saw your world, or like how did that change the development?
I think honestly the main thing that playing role-playing games did for me was I got better at character. Because I've always been a good world builder. Because I've always been very good at. Well, I can figure out. Like I worked on a few other stories through college and for a few years after, but they never. I always knew they weren't like quite good enough. And my problem was always that. So I'm very good at coming up with plot. I'm good at making things make sense. And the one was like a mystery stories and futuristic Hong Kong, and then another one in Canada. So I was always writing a lot, but I didn't feel like I would go leave my work and come back, and I knew that I didn't quite understand like how to write really interesting characters, and I think if I had done either role-playing games or like acting classes would have really helped, but I didn't really have anywhere to go to do, because like you read writing books, they don't really teach you that. They teach about this is the formatting for the script, and this is the first act, second act, but it's like I I don't know why this isn't taught more. Maybe it's just like not as much of a struggle for most people, but I wasn't really told that, well, it's about the character, at least not in college. But then again, my writing classes for college, I studied sequential art, were not very in depth, which is weird, but they were definitely more focused on training people to be artists and not a lot of focus on writing. So I had a couple of writing classes. It was very, very basic stuff, and I always wanted to learn more about it, but it's like, well, I got very good at world building and plot, but not so much at acting and role-playing games. It was very fast too. The minute I started playing it, I figured it out. So that was one thing that really changed. And I've always been kind of an avid world builder, but since I was playing a lot of Pathfinder and I liked I was in the mindset for doing something fantasy, I built something that it's not like it's my own world. It's not a Pathfinder world. But,
Right.
But like the main character of Fiendish is inspired by one of my Pathfinder characters. So there you go.
So these days when you're writing and especially doing the dialogue, do you talk in their voices? Like, do they have their own voice?
Well, I can hear their voices in my head. Now I sound really crazy, don't I?
No, actually, no, because when I write my stuff, like they all have their own voice, and I'll talk to myself, and occasionally I'll see my wife staring in the room, like, is he okay? I'm not sure.
Well, I don't really like talk to myself. What happens is like, well, a lot of artists do this when I'm drawing someone, like I'll do the expression, but that's very normal. A lot of artists do that. You just want to get in the character. Not so much like when I'm writing, I don't kind of like start talking in their voice, but like in my head, it's like a movie. It's like an anime movie, and I can hear them talking. So.
Ah,
crazy.
Very cool. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about Fiendish?
Yeah, well, so Fiendish is a long-form fantasy comic. It's the premise is about a group of young men and women on a journey of vengeance against otherworldly monsters. And the first chapter is just kind of a very basic introduction to my main cast. I introduced so I have like this kind of weird structure. I have 4 protagonists, but one of them is the main character. If that makes any sense. It makes sense for how I'm writing the story. So I was going to introduce Iskil, Casimir, and Yomi in chapter 1. But if we get to the 25k stretch goal, there's our next stretch goal, I'm going to be introducing Ragna, who is the 4th character. Because I really wanted to fit her in, but I didn't have enough page counts at first. But I was like, okay, if we get there, then I'm going to add some extra pages. So yeah, it's a long form story. I have everything written out because I'm nuts. But it kind of reads like a campaign, like a D&D campaign, but I wanted it to feel like it's like a fantasy, there's a group of people on a journey, but I didn't want it to be too much like Lord of the Rings. I didn't want to read like this is just like a D&D campaign, like how Goblin Slayer and Legend of Lodoswar are just in your face. This is just somebody drawing their D&D campaign. I didn't want it to feel like that, which is why I think what helped was I did a lot of world building and try to deviate from like Tolkien-esque fantasy. So it's like I made my own races. I don't have elves or dwarves or anything. So, and I made my own magic system, and I like a hard magic system. So that's also not a non-Tolkien-esque thing. I was like, this is very, like the rules are very set. So yeah, that's kind of how it reads, and it's also kind of dark fantasy. So if you see my art, it's pretty obvious I'm very inspired by Berserk. But yeah, so gore and stuff, but it's not as horrifying and dark as Berserk. But I don't shy away from the gore and everything. I want things to feel real. I want to feel like this is a real world.
And so you mentioned this is part 1. Do you know how many parts there are going to be?
Yeah, so the first arc, I planned it to be 8 chapters, but I've been penciling the second book, so I might actually be combining chapter 2 and 3, so it might end up being like 6 or 7 chapters, and every arc is between 8 to 10 chapters. So, and there are 4 arcs total. Yep.
Okay, that's a lot of math. That's
yeah, sure. It's a long-term project. I'm like, this is probably the next 15 years of my life.
And are you currently working on other projects as well as this, or it's all you're just like 100% totally focused on this?
I wouldn't say 100%, but very close. Because like I always have some freelance. I do some stuff for other people's campaigns. I still have a day job. I'd like to just do this full time eventually and not do the day job, but I do have a day job.
Yeah.
But yeah, like most of my like creative endeavors is I'm focusing on this. Like I don't want to do for a while at least like no sequentials for other people. I'm not really working on anything else. And I have other ideas, but I'm more at the point where I think those are ideas that I can work with other people on, and like kind of I do some art and I have the basic idea, but I let other people develop it. Like Fiendish is my thing. Like I'm drawing it. I'm focusing on it, and I feel like I have to, I don't know, it's my baby. I don't trust anyone else with it. I have to be in control of it. So yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Oh geez, I just lost my question.
All right,
sorry,
it happens.
guys.
So just keep on scrolling. I can talk about the tiers.
Post-error. Yeah, tell us about the tiers.
Yeah. So I originally we had a, let's see, how many tiers? It doesn't matter. So it kind of doesn't follow like all the tiers there are out of order. You can scroll down to
all right.
Further down
Air,
to the little
water.
graphic, because all the tiers on the right are all out of order.
So
So
okay.
the most basic tier is
Gotcha.
Air. It's just the book, and that the book is right now is 46 pages, going to be in full color because that was our 10K stretch goal. So I know the pages on here in black and white, but Carlos is coloring it now because I can pay him to do it, and it might be 4 more pages if we can get to 25. So. And then there are going to be at least 10 pages extra content. The book looks really good. I was just working on like the back cover and the design and graphic design of it last night, and I'm like, this looks awesome. And not to be too stuck up, but it's also like some of Carlos's art in there, and I'm like, this is really well put together. I'm very proud of it. So if I may say so myself. So that the air tier for $20 is just the book, and the water tier is a book plus 1 poster, and my tiers kind of just add on to whatever the last tier was. So the next one, Nicole, is book plus 2 posters. There's a poster by me and another one by Carlos, and then the earth tier is all of the above plus another poster by my friend Yvonne, and but these posters are comic size. They're mini prints, so they're the size of the comic but printed on cardstock. And for heat is all the posters, the book, and a little acrylic demon standee. So like those anime standees I see in anime shops, and it's like a little art piece cut out, printed on a acrylic piece, and you can stand it on your table. So you have a little cute little demon staring lovingly at you forever. And that's it for now, because the plasma tier was my featured tier, and that's sold out.
Awesome.
I have, because that was the one that included a handmade item, and those are the wooden plaques that you see right below here. But I actually didn't set a limit for how many I needed to make, probably because I wasn't expecting to get that much attention, but I did. So now I have too many to make, so I had to stop taking orders for that.
Yeah,
I'm very grateful, but I have oh boy, that's a lot of work. Yeah.
That's the thing that I've noticed is for most people that I've talked to who have done campaigns, they're always like, man, I wish I would have had more of whatever it is that they're including with the very high end campaign, because for some reason people really want to, if they like your book, like they really want to help you out and get that that higher end, especially if you have something unique like a wood burning, like a demon face that can hang out on your coffee table. And
I would say I'd open this tier up more. I really like making these, but I have 60 to make now.
Oh, that's a lot.
So yeah, I don't think I can take any more. But I mean, they sold very well, and I'm very glad people like them. Yeah, when I first like built this campaign, I did one campaign before. I did I crowdfunded for my regrowth art book in 2019, and I think it's just an art book. I was kind of a nobody, still kind of a nobody, but it's just an art book. It's not really story content. I think the book looked good, but at the same time, like something with a story and a whole franchise is different. So like the art book, it made its goal and it made more than I expected, but like people weren't really. It was like it made its goal as in I got like 2,500. So so it was like just enough to print, and so that's what I was expecting for Fiendish. Clearly that's not what happened.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed in terms of art books, if you're like Jim Lee or Todd McFarlane, you can make a lot of money doing them. But
Hmm.
otherwise, most people seem to make more money just even on like simple comic books than on an art book that may have taken thousands and thousands of hours to make. People just really like the idea of story,
Well,
and
yeah,
yeah, and
yeah, and I kind of always knew that. So what's funny is, well, now I had some extras for extra prints of my art book, and I put that on as an add-on, and those are sold out too. But that's because it's
wow.
added on to Fiendish, and I have some like early work for Fiendish in the art book, so people really like that. But yeah, people are invested in stuff for the story because I noticed it's very early on. It's like even in middle school, I was asking myself, why can a crappy drawing of like,
Hmm.
I don't know, Naruto get more likes than someone who's not known but draws very well? Well, it's because of the story that comes with Naruto, and people love that story. So when they see the drawing, they think of the story and they like it. So it's like story is very powerful, and that's what I always wanted to do.
So Toast is here.
Toast, that's a great name. Says, I love your work on Gwenpool and have loved following your work since. Oh, thank you! Congrats on Fiendish's success. Thank you so much. I love. Yeah, Toast is a great name. Now I want some toast. I am. Yeah, I'm shocked that there are still people who follow my work since from like years ago when I worked on Gwenpool and Silk. Because I kind of assumed that. Well, yeah, I got a following from then, but my art style is kind of not. I'm drawing in such a different genre and different
Mhm.
style. Like people say they can tell it's still my work, but it's a total different genre is the thing. And I didn't expect anyone to still be following my work on Fiendish from carrying over from like when I worked for Marvel, but there are, and that's great. I'm
Yeah,
pleasantly surprised.
yeah, people tend to like a certain creator and they like a style, and maybe this is the introduction they need to get into more dark fantasy. Very different
Yes,
from
I
Gwenpool,
will take
but
you in. I
you
mean,
know,
Gwenpool got pretty serious at the end too. I mean, it wasn't just like all fun and games. Yeah,
uh,
it wasn't that dark. Not really. That's a good book. I
definitely.
generally like working on it. It just like it wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't really my
Hmm.
style. Like clearly, Gurihiru was the artist for the book, and I loved their work, but I don't draw like them. So, and it's this weird thing where I want to work on the book, but no matter how much I forced myself, I couldn't draw like them. I couldn't draw in a
Hmm.
style that really was like, I don't know, fit the book so much. I needed to be on something that was manga but dark fantasy, and Marvel just didn't have anything like that. So, yeah.
Well, you never know. You never know what the future may hold. But so
Hmm.
getting back to a little tabletop gaming for a second.
Yes.
So we were talking a little bit before about role playing. How much role playing versus like mechanics are you when you play? Like I'm forgetting the term. Like just picking all your stats so you do the most damage, or like versus picking a personality and role playing with the character.
Yeah. How much of a power gamer
Yeah,
am
yeah. Power gamer. Jeez, that's the word I was thinking of.
I? uh, I think I'm in the middle ground, and that sounds like a cop out, but I don't like hear me out. So, I you can ask Carlos about this. I like to be the most useful person on the team. So I
Ah,
have that's
okay.
why I like Rangers because I know they suck in like D&D, but they're really good at Pathfinder. And like I like to it drives me crazy if I'm like tied up for a whole fight and I can't do anything. So I'm definitely all about the DPS. I'm very competitive. I tried playing like one session. He just as like a side thing, he assigned characters for us to fight. I got assigned like this old lady that was like a cleric, and I had the worst time ever because I was like, I want to jump in there and kill some things. So, like, I have a caster, but it's also like a very like in your face type of caster,
Mm-hmm.
and he's half war, so you can take a hit. So yeah. Anyways, I think it's both for me. Like
Uh-huh.
I'll play the character, but like I also like being very useful and effective. So why not both?
And how much emphasis do you put on like character backstory?
Oh, a lot. A lot.
Do you
Yeah,
have do you have folders of characters?
yeah, of course, who doesn't? Wait, maybe some people don't. Maybe some people aren't that invested, but like, okay, so on my drive, Fiendish is the biggest folder by far. I have like 100 gigs of material for Fiendish already. It's kind of nuts. But the next biggest folder is my Pathfinder file. So folder. Yeah. So I have folders for all the characters, and like I always build complex ass characters. So they're like, I have a ranger who is a multi-classer, but also like this like for character purposes, because you want your character to be more than just their class. Like I have this ranger who I want to develop into like a crafting character. So he has like craft mechanics, and it's this kind of a special thing because you don't see that a lot in Pathfinder. It's not just like craft armor or something. And Meta GM has been working with me to develop that part of the character, because I was like, I want him to like pursue this as a profession. That's part of his character. It's part of his backstory, and there's a reason for that. And most of my characters are like that. So I have in that folder, I have like pages and pages of the character sheet, and then like the progression that I want, and then like another folder for all the crafting feats and like all the items that you can craft. It's kind of intense.
See, I actually can't do that, because if I start creating more characters, then I'm like, oh, I kind of want to play this one instead. You know, it's kind of like, have you ever broken up with someone and then like very soon after you start dating someone else, and then when you're like just starting this new relationship with someone else, you're kind of like, maybe I should try to get back with my ex. Like that's how I feel about these characters, where it's like, oh, I missed this one. I don't know if I like this one or not.
Oh, we play multiple characters at the same time. So
What?
I don't. Yeah. So we don't like, because our campaign is kind of nuts. Like we had an original campaign, but then one character, like we start side campaigns. So every week, depending on like what we feel like some campaigns will be harsher than, if you know Pathfinder, like the Brinewall campaign is really dark and harsh. So that was like a really like rolling thing we were doing for a while. But then on the side, like Carlos had us doing sort of like a circus module that was supposed to be more chill, but then devolved into hell, of course. But like we'll have more chill campaigns, and then like campaigns that are just level 1 modules if we feel like, if we're really stressed out and we just want to unwind, like level 1 modules where we don't build the characters, it's pre-made characters. So we'll be playing like multiple things at the same time. And then it's like, well, because the way Carlos does it is he lets our characters, it's a true open world. So for example, we had one character leave the circus module and then decide to travel and go to Brinewall and join the rest of our characters there. So to facilitate that, and instead of like just being like, you magically show up, we're playing another like caravan, another campaign with caravan rules, which is very interesting. It's totally different rules, but it's like a travel campaign. So we have a few pre-made characters that we modified, and they're accompanying this one player character on his travels to Brinewall to join the rest of our group. So and then when we have characters split off and do their own thing, that can be a whole other module. So I'm playing like 5 people at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Now that makes a little bit more sense.
Want to join us?
Sure.
It's pretty intense though, but it's fun.
I don't know. I always enjoy role playing. It's good to sort of get out of yourself, and that's the other thing that confuses me about role playing games. Like I would say nowadays in general, when people start, they play some version of themselves. So like we had John Hervey here before. Maybe he would play like some kind of monk, a black tiger or something. But then, as you develop a little bit more confidence in role playing, like it's fun to be other people. Like I've been an old man, I've had a few women characters, and it just seems like it just, oh my god. Oh.
I guess that's
Is
true
that true?
for most people. They start out playing characters more similar to themselves, and I've seen that in our campaign too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't know. I think I went in with the express goal to make
Be
characters
someone
that are
else.
as different from myself as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but then I've been told that in the end, I still have a preference. Like,
Sure.
I don't like playing a passive character that's in the back, that's also there to help. And that's part of my personality, so that shows through. But like, I try to not play anyone like me because I went in with the goal to learn to write better, and our
Mm-hmm.
whole group. So our whole group, we're all artists
Mm-hmm.
and writers. So like part of what we want to do with this game is to kind of like get our creative juices going, but also
Yeah,
relax
yeah.
at the same time, but like work on our skill as storytellers. So yeah, but that's like a conscious thing that me and some other people in the campaign have done is we're making people like building characters that are nothing like ourselves. We want to challenge ourselves a bit more.
Yeah, sorry. I think that's where I was going with that before. Is the ability. This is one of the few places in life where you have the ability to be someone that you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can easily be someone that doesn't look like you, someone who's a different sex, someone who's a different race. Everything. If you were born poor, you could be the kid of a noble family or whatever, or you could be the other way. If you had a pretty nice life growing up, you could see what it's like to be an urchin.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
always one of my favorite things about this kind of RPG.
Yeah. I don't quite understand why you want to go into role playing and just play a character that's just like you, and I don't know. Like, I don't want to play a character that's like me, and I don't want the rules of the world to reflect the rules of my world. I've had enough of that. I want something else. Like, I'm here
Yeah,
to explore a different story and put myself in like a different skin. So that's the experience that I want.
definitely, definitely. All right.
Let's see, are there any other chats? Johnny Cage says, I hear voices in my head and they counsel me. They understand. They talk to. Yes, they do. They understand. Only the voices in my head truly understand me.
Exactly. Let's see. We've got Shane O'Sullivan. In terms of writing, I bought at Sameti's stream, Peter Sameti stream yesterday, The Hero's Journey, Mythic Journey, a writing method developed by Joseph Campbell. Very handy for anyone who wants to write, even for comics.
Oh yeah, so I read Joseph Campbell's book. I read
Mm-hmm.
Robert McKee's books. But what's weird was writing even those like knowing how to write a hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
That's not understanding character, and it's weird to
Yes.
say. Like it's probably just a me problem that I was always more focused on like plot and logic. So that's not like what I'm talking about isn't just how do you write a story. A story has a beginning,
Mm-hmm.
middle, and end. Like you can follow the hero's journey, and those books are very good, by the way, and you can follow like the act and the structure of it. But how like acting and having a character that's really compelling, like this feels like this could be a real person, and that's the level that I wanted to be at before I did anything with like I put anything out. That's something else. And I always say that like the animation majors had acting classes, but we didn't really get that, and I'm like, why didn't we get that?
Yeah, I think acting slash
That's what we
improv
needed.
is huge for people in the visual arts.
Yeah.
And in terms of writing, my personal recommendation is anybody who wants to learn more about characters, go find Chris Claremont's entire run on the X-Men.
Oh, yeah.
Because those characters are so great. If I picked up an issue and I don't show you any of the pictures and I just start reading, you could tell what character is speaking just because each character has a very distinct way of talking. So it's one of the things that kept him on that book for 15 years.
Yeah, it's more than I think. As a beginner writer, even if you know all the writing books and you know the structure and you have like a character journey, you know what your character's heroic journey is going to be. What I see a lot of people ending up doing is they'll write characters that are reflections of franchises they already know, which can work, but you want to move beyond that. You want to really see this person as a whole unique person, and for that you have to put yourself in their shoes. So
Yes.
that's where I think that's where like Chris Claremont was. That's how you get to that nuance, because you can't get there. Like it's not, I don't know. You can't get there and have it feel that immersive and organic if you're always just thinking of copying what someone else did. It's the difference between an art style that you're trying to draw like someone else and having your own style.
So would you say that you've always had a curiosity sort of like how things worked? Or like why things are throughout your life?
That's a really deep question. I guess so.
No, I'm just wondering in terms of character and getting in the head of another character. I have found that people who are some of the best writers are people who have always been curious. Like they'll go to a new culture or something and they'll be like, oh, well, why do you guys do this thing? Why do you do that? And, it's through that sort of constant curiosity of like, oh, well, why is this and why is that? Then all of a sudden they can sort of synthesize in their mind, like almost like another person, the way somebody else would view things.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Are there people who aren't like that?
Oh my God, yes.
So I mean, yeah, I'm curious. I'm a pretty curious person, I guess. Most of my YouTube subscriptions are like historical. Well, I also watch a lot of like historical disasters. It's actually a very interesting section of YouTube. It's like historical disasters, and there's this channel called Fascinating Horror, and it's like, this amusement park burned down in 1970. This is what happened, but or this thing happened in the Victorian era, but just. Besides from that, just historical stories and about all these stories about human migration and anthropology, and that's the vast majority of what I listen on YouTube, and psychology lectures. So that also helps me with writing when I'm in the mindset to be able to listen to that, because that gets pretty intense. But so yeah, I think so. I've always been pretty curious about that kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah, and as someone who's like gone between two different cultures, I'm sure it's somewhat more second nature to you. Speaking of people who don't like, so I used to live in China, and I would get roped into taking foreigners around Beijing, and you would hear all sorts of questions. It would be like, Chinese 100 yuan, and they'd be like, so this is like $100 US, but how do they know what it's worth? And and it's like they couldn't envision in their minds. These were Americans, trust me.
Did they not know what conversion rates are?
No, they didn't know anything. It's funny. I always used to take people to this Tibetan restaurant, and I would convince them that they were going to eat yak. And like, for anybody who doesn't know, yak is just another form of cow. So I was taking them to eat roast beef, but I would say it like yak, so they would tell people it was like this really exotic thing instead if I went to Beijing and ate roast beef.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So, there definitely are a lot of people who can't do that. And then even, I can't remember the name of the condition, but there's a condition where people can't visualize. Like
right. Yeah, there was this thing going around the internet a while ago of like, how do you visualize? Like how clearly you visualize things in your head.
Yes.
Like when you have a descriptor of a woman holding an apple in a sunny room, and there's a series of images that represents like this, supposed to reflect this how vividly you imagine it, and you're supposed to pick the number. And like a lot of people, even artists, were like, oh, I'm a 1, which is just like it's a blurry image with like a blob of red for the apple. Or some people were just like completely black. No, like 0, I think, was just black, like nothing. Like they just think of the concept, but they don't see any images in their head. And so I'm like, whoa, there are people that think that way. But I don't know if that so much has to do with, that's just like visual. visual thinking. That's not so much to do with like curiosity, because
True.
like
So
I suck at math, so maybe they think in math, or some just people have variations.
yeah, I know a friend of mine thinks I'm kind of dumb because there's certain parts of statistics I just don't get.
No, no, I'm a bad Asian. My math is not very good.
No, I was just wondering. I've got a buddy whose wife is an actress, actually,
Yeah.
and she cannot visualize things in her mind because I was talking to him like, "Oh, why don't you invite her to role playing games? She's an actress; she should love it." And he's like, "No, no, no, she won't get it." And it's even to the point that like they were going out looking at houses, and they don't have the most money, so they're looking at fixer uppers, and he would be like, "Oh, well, we can, get rid of these cabinets and put some new ones in," and she just could not imagine the house with like a different color of paint or wood floors or so he gave up. But
How? I mean, but I guess that's the point of human variation. You
yeah,
meet
yeah, for sure.
people who just are good at different things.
But yeah, I'm always curious like how people get to things, and I still would like to know how can she be an actress if she can't visualize things like that.
Like, it's
But
probably just you read the text, and like imagining emotions is not the same as being able to imagine
true,
a new color
true.
of paint on the wall. So I actually saw a thread during that whole internet trend about aphantasia is what it's called, to not be able to visually imagine something. Uh, some people are asking, well, how do people who have aphantasia play D&D? And apparently it's possible, probably not for like super, I don't know, like probably not our campaign, because
Hmm.
we're very much into world building, and you have to imagine what's going on. But if it's just like your the character emotions, and then it's just you're more like, this is just the numbers, and this you just roll the dice, and this is the stats,
Hmm.
and maybe it's the map in front of you helps, so they're playing it more like this is just a board game.
Okay, yeah.
That would help. And like, I imagine playing a character, you could just, instead of like visually imagining what's going on, you can imagine the emotions, because even if you can't clearly see an apple in your head, what's to say that you can't kind of like imagine what it feels like to be someone who's really sad, who just saw a dog die
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
a game. So people have said in the thread I read that it's possible, but probably just not to like a really intense level of role playing.
All right. So bringing it back to Fiendish here for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're planning on finishing up the campaign in August?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's already in demand,
Hmm.
but I'm only just going back and forth with the printer right now to make sure everything prints right, and
Awesome.
I have a few more items to create. Be I'm working on the stickers right now. I think I'm gonna hire AC to do trading cards. So I have 4 trading cards. That was a 20K stretch goal
Hmm.
to have for a set of 4 trading cards. That'll go out to all backers at this point. So the trading cards have to be done, and the stickers I'm almost done. I have like one more left to do, the Cosmere one, and but those, like, just the art for that's easy. That's just like, I'm done for that, sending off to the factory. But yeah, it's just negotiating with the printer and getting it colored is the main thing, because Carlos has to color 43 pages, and that's going
That's
to
a
take a
lot.
while. Yeah, that's going to take a while. So I did let people know that it might be a month later than the original ship date. I'm still going to try to ship by early September. If we're later than that, I'm going to send all backers a PDF of the book, so everyone still has the book on their hands. And even before that, I forgot to mention, I have the black and white version as the smoke tier on the camp, because some people really like how the book looked in black
Hmm.
and white. So I have the black and white where you can just order the black and white version on its own. So that will go to printers first, because that's already done, and those people are getting their books first.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, that will be in August, and if you ordered a color version, that probably will be in September.
And so, since you said this is part of a much longer series that might take you 15 years to finish, how many how many books do you think you can put out in a year, or
I want
parts? I should say.
this. Yeah, I want to get to like a quarterly or triannual
Wow.
release. I can do it if I do it full time. I have other work. I have a day job. But
Yeah.
I work at about a page every 1 or 2 days, so I can do like a quarterly release. if I eventually get to doing this full time.
Very
I
cool.
want to do that. Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else we should know about Fiendish, or anything else you're working on?
Well, nothing else I'm working on. It's all Fiendish. I mean, I'm working on some stuff. I have an idea for a game, but it's like I think it's gonna happen someday, but maybe like after knowing Fiendish. Like I'm gonna mull it over. But that's a whole other thing. Like Fiendish is just my whole life right now. So yeah, check out Fiendish. And if you want to find out more about this comic, you can go to fiendishcomic.com. There's a link right at the top of the campaign. So if you just scroll down a little to the introduction, there's a big link, fiendishcomic.com, and the website has a bunch of world building material. There's a world map. There are character profiles for the 4 major characters, and I just added a dictionary to the Narsa language section, and I put up a Pantheon page, and I'm going to slowly be adding more information to the website as the comic progresses. So this is like your center for all the world building, and because I do have some Narsa in the story, it's my constructed language. It's not essential to learn this language to read the comic. Okay, the comic will be understandable in English, but if you want to nerd out and try to translate something that's in the background, you can come here. You can find out more about the Pantheon. If something, you want to clarify what the characters are saying and stuff, because I kind of just have the characters talk about things like this is their natural world. I don't try to just over-explain things. So if you want to like find out more about more nerdy stuff, you can come here, and I'll have like the magic system up as well when that comes into play next chapter.
Cool.
So yeah, come check it out. I also have a big preview on here just because I wanted to, because I know I'm a new creator and I wanted people to be able to actually read the comic and see what they thought of it and just like get a taste for my work first to make sure that this is what they wanted. So I have like a 20-page giant preview, and this is the first half of chapter 1. So you can come on here and read that, see what you think, and I'm pretty sure you'll like it. And yeah, and there's I also have a YouTube channel. Irene Draws everywhere. So I stream Wednesday nights. So
Wednesday nights.
Yeah. And
okay.
It's just a chill stream. Like I draw. I usually have other people on. I'm trying to have a topic of discussion. I think tomorrow we're gonna talk about our favorite manga.
Oh, very cool.
Even though every episode turns into like draw and talk about manga at this point because we're all weebs. But yeah, I think we're gonna like talk about what our favorite manga are and like rank them and everything, and we might have some new guests on tomorrow. So it's very chill.
Very cool.
I usually draw something.
About what time?
8 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
So everybody, you heard it here. Toast has one more quick question. Do you have an ending in mind?
Oh yeah. Oh definitely. The ending's awesome too. I love the ending. I can't wait. Yeah, that's why like So I'm a big fan of Song of Ice and Fire books, and I don't want to do what George R. R. Martin is doing. I want to finish my work.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's part of what, like I mentioned, I was combining chapter 2 and 3. So I was like, I want to trim the fat. I want to like get to, the ending as soon as possible. Not rush things, but I want to focus the story. And it's a big story, and there's just a lot to tell, but I don't want to get distracted or anything. I have the ending in mind. I know where I'm going. So yeah. Yes, I definitely know what the ending is and where all these characters will end up. And I'm very excited to show you.
All right. Well, Rini, thank you very much for stopping by, for talking about Fiendish. Hopefully we'll see you again before too long, and who knows, maybe we'll even get to play something together.
That would be awesome. Yeah, we'll talk more about the D&D stuff. We'll talk.
Okay.
This is gonna happen. Yeah, but this was fantastic. I love having just more chill, like I guess interviewee questions. It's weird. I don't really like being interviewed, but I guess like we're just talking about D&D and Taiwan, and you lived in China, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, it was nice. I like having longer talks like this. This is fantastic, and thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you for coming. All right, so anyone who's still listening, fiendishcomic.com, you can get all the info, world maps, previews, character language, eventually spells, and definitely, if you're not going to go there, you want to go to Indigogo and check out Fiendish, now in demand.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. Click subscribe. We'll have more people back soon. And leave your comment down below. What do you think? How many copies are you going to buy?
Let us know.
All right. Later, everyone.
Bye.